This is Mark Tronson from the Australian Missionary News. I'm down here in cold Hobart at the Australasian Religious Press Association annual conference, and I've got here the president, Peter McGuigan. Now, Peter, can you tell us something just about yourself?
Yeah, well, Mark, I've been in the Salvation Army just about all of my life. I am actually a Salvation Army officer, and for the past 8 months I've served as the officer in charge of the Salvation Army in the Capricorn region, which is centred in Rockhampton, central Queensland. And after many, many years in Salvation Army editorial and journalism work, I've actually now gone back to the pastorate and I'm really enjoying it.
Now, you said to us yesterday that in fact it was such a change to go back from office work back into the grassroots pastoral work. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not so much office work, but the demands on you as an editor-in-chief with 4 publications coming out on a regular basis, and the deadline demands are very different from the demands of a pastorate out in the field.
Yes.
And what I've most enjoyed about it, Mark, is actually getting a fresh appreciation for what the people on the front line, the ministers and the Salvation Army officers and the priests and so forth, have to deal with, with basically humanity and all the flaws of humanity as well as all of the triumphs of humanity. It's a great mix.
Can you tell us something just about that wonderful story you told us?
Yes, yesterday in one of our sessions I talked about the fact that one of the main roles of the Christian press in Australia and New Zealand is to really tell the story of the gospel, to tell the story of human relationships, and I gave an instance of when I went to Rockhampton earlier this year. One Saturday morning I took a phone call, and it was from the Benevolent Nursing Home, in Rockhampton, and they said, we have a Jean Alberts here, part of your congregation, who is dying, and the family would like the Salvation Army to come and see her. And now I had the phone in one hand, and I didn't even know this person. We were still too new to know everybody, and it's a fairly large church. And I was flicking over the pages of the church directory, and there it was, Jean Alberts, Benevolent Home. So I said, okay, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Typical pastor.
Yeah, we'll be there soon. So about 1 p.m. that day, it was a beautiful Rockhampton day, we went up, we got out of the car, we walked towards the entrance, and coming from the other side of the car park was an Indigenous woman, and we got there and we said to her, can you tell us where the Kookaburra wing is? And she said, no problems, I'm going there myself, come with me. So we went with her, got in the lift, walked out down the corridors through a big set of doors, and she announced, this is the Kookaburra wing. But we all kept walking in the same direction, and we all stopped outside the same door, and suddenly it clicked for her, and she said, you're going to visit my mother? And I said, yes, we are. And she said, hi, I'm Cynthia Munns, what's your name? And I said, my name's Peter McGuigan. And she said, you wouldn't happen to be John and Beryl McGuigan's son? They were the Salvation Army officers in Clermont in the early 1960s. And I said, yes, I am.
Now that's West Queensland.
Yes, Central West Queensland.
Yes.
And
listen to this, folks.
And I said, yes, I was. Do you know, she said, that my mother, an Aboriginal woman in Clermont in those days, used to look after you when your parents went out to the missions around the region there. And it suddenly clicked for me that this was the black nana that I had always heard about on and off during my life. And here I was about to walk into her room as she was dying. And we spent the most incredible couple of hours talking, and we didn't just... Jean was lying on the bed. She was not conscious, but we didn't assume that she wasn't conscious. We assumed that she was with us and was involved throughout in our conversation. And we left. Half an hour later, Jean was promoted to glory, as we say in the Salvation Army.
And so tell us now what the consequences were.
Yeah, I just say, Jean said to me, her daughter Cynthia said to me as we left the room that day, I find it amazing that my mother looked after you and loved her like her own all those years ago at the beginning of your life, and here you are for her at the end of hers.
A wonderful story. Now tell us just what the consequences were.
Well, 4 days later I was in Clermont conducting her funeral service, and there was over 100 people there, mainly Indigenous, a few Europeans, and we had the most wonderful ministry with that Indigenous family, and now I've got an ongoing relationship with them all.
That's the wonderful bit.
Yes.
Well, Peter, thank you very much.
So that's the sort of story we want to tell.
Yes.
And in fact, I've written the story. Yeah.
Okay, this is Mark Thompson signing off for the Australian Missionary News.